knew nothing about the reason. There was no human explanation. Sometimes things happen in our lives and there is no human explanation. Now, under pressure, the real Job surfaced and he worshipped God. Look at chapter 1 and verse 20. His whole world has been devastated. And verse 20 says, "At this, Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground in worship and said, 'Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised.'" In all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. Under the pressure of a world turned upside down and the man's life sent into a tailspin, the real Job surfaced. This man who feared God and shunned evil, he surfaced, and through it all he worshipped God. Now, under pressure, the real Mrs. Job surfaced, and she cursed. She lost everything that he lost. Look at chapter 2 and verse 9 and 10. His wife said to him, "Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die." He replied, "You are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" In all this, Job did not sin in what he said. Realize that God found no fault in Job, but Satan did. And here's this man who's got one foot in the grave. His world has suddenly turned upside down. He wished he'd never been born. It must be better than this. He feels he is target practice for the Almighty, God's dartboard. He cannot work it out. Now, there are lessons here. Be careful, believer, about explaining why certain things happen to other people. Be careful of saying, "This has happened to so-and-so for such and such a reason." That may be a non sequitur. I used to think that God had tempted Satan to have a go at Job, but God tempts no one. I used to think that Job was just a pawn on life's chessboard, like flotsam and jetsam being tossed hither and yon. God brings up the subject of his servant Job, and Satan accepts some challenge. We get the impression that God is so confident in his servant that whatever the test, he is able to keep him from falling. God is up to something good, even in the life of Job. Oh, it doesn't look like that. And if you break in on his life at certain times, it certainly doesn't feel like that. But glimpsing behind the scenes and taking the long view and looking back on all the way that God has led him, we can conclude God was up to something good in the life of his servant. Here is his servant at the city dump where the garbage is tipped. And he's got painful sores from head to foot, a severe itching. He's scratching himself with broken shards, bits of broken pot, because it hurts. And it looks like a bet between God and Satan. But in reality, it is faith on trial. Job is being made a test case. Don't you know these examples in the Old Testament are examples for our edification? We learn lessons from the saints who have gone before and who have put their trust in the God who is able to keep you by his power. God has permitted the devil to strip Job down to his naked soul. Judge nothing before the time. It will work out for good in the life of Job, and it will work out to the glory of God eventually. But it doesn't look like it today. And while you're going through it, it doesn't look like it. When Mary hurried to Jesus, and when Martha ran to the Master, their cry was, "If only you had been here, my brother would not have died. We let you know in time. If only you'd got a move on, if only you'd come quickly, my brother would not be dead." While you're going through it, it doesn't look as if ever God will show up, as if anything good can come out of this. But as the two sisters discovered, Jesus is the resurrection and the life, and their brother, dead and buried, came back to life. And we're told in John's Gospel that many people believed in Jesus Christ because of Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. We must never forget, as we live this Christian life, that there are onlookers in the unseen realm. God is working out eternal purposes in and through his saints, and even to principalities and powers who are gazing on and observing, even to angels who don't understand this great salvation. Some eternal drama is being acted out in your life and in mine. Let it be to the praise and glory of God through endless ages. We look at the problem of suffering as expressed in the life of Job, and it's a bit like when we did algebra at school. The problems are all in the front of the book, and the answers are all in the back of the book. And the books that we were given only had the problems in. It was just the master who had the book that had the answers in.